All right. Time has come, my favorite part of the show. I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat, covering all the latest hot topics in Minnesota sports called What Does It Mean? Let's jump right into it. First up, Twins won their 7th in a row with the sweep of the Tigers, allowing just one run while scoring 7. Carlos Correa broke out of his slump with 3 hits and 3 RBIs. What does it mean for the Twins in their recent streak? Is it a legitimate sign of things to come, or are we seeing a little bit of a mirage here given their pitching? How long until that bullpen starts to become exposed like we expected?
I mean, they've already been exposed. I think this is the team. They're going to have some ups, they're going to have some downs, but I think at their best, they can be a team that can string along 7 straight wins. I think the starting pitching is a lot better than many were expecting them to be. And I think the bats, they have enough experienced bats to believe that they would break out of any type of a slump that they would have. I mean, Carlos Correa, you signed him to be really a pillar on this team this year, and he didn't come on very strong. But I feel like last night was a good sign for things to come for him moving forward. And I mean, this guy's a top flight player, and I think the encouragement from Byron Buxton and his great play so far, and Correa coming on, and you got guys like Max Kepler contributing, and the starting rotation has been strong. You still got Sonny Gray that's on the injured list that's going to come back and join that rotation. That's pretty encouraging. I think this team can really legitimately make a run in this division and make it hard for, the White Sox. We've seen that they swept the Tigers, and that's what you expect this team to do with the talent that they have assembled. And I think this team has all of the makings to be able to make a run and do what it is that you hope that they do with the championship expectations that were kind of laid out before the season by this team. And so I think it's really fun right now, this streak that they're on, and I just want to see how long they could keep it going.
Really going to be interesting as we get later in the season, kind of the thick of things in the middle of the summer, and see where this team stands in that division. Next one up, 5 Georgia defenders go in the first round, the most defenders ever from one program on day 1 of the draft. What does it mean when trying to analyze just how good was that Georgia defense?
I think they were really good.
Is that one of the best ever?
It might be. It has to be. We've seen so many Alabama players taken in the draft, but the fact that this Georgia team kind of set a record with the guys that they had getting taken in the first round, that makes it really seem like, this is probably the best defense that we've ever seen. The LSU offense, when Joe Burrow played, that was otherworldly, and we saw all of those guys get to. I mean, you got Burrow, you got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Thad Moss, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, all these guys are going pro and going good. Thad Moss wasn't a high draft pick, but everybody else was. And so I think what's interesting is this defense, there's a premium on defense because there are a lot of high-powered offenses in the NFL. And I think, when you have a successful college program, when you have a successful college season, the NFL guys are like, ooh, let us get some of that. He can help us. And they have that, I hate to say, they have that championship DNA, going to the national championship and winning it with Georgia. And I think, those are guys who have done it before. They have that fabric, and those are guys that you feel like could be an addition, a great addition to your football team because they've been there, done that, and they know what it is to play at a high level.
It's so hard from a draft evaluation standpoint, Reggie, because devil's advocate just says, well, is that guy really that good, or did he just have so much talent around him? I mean, when you're a linebacker and you got Jordan Davis, Devon Wyatt blocking in front of you, are you really that good? I mean, are you going to be able to translate that to the NFL? But the amount of talent, again, on that side of the ball, just unheard of. Again, broke a record last night. And by the way, I know you're going to love this, Reggie. 2023 NFL mock draft, Lorenzo Carter, defensive end from Georgia, projected in the top 5. So they had another guy already projected in the top 5, top 10. Yeah, okay, not yet. Too soon?
Too
Okay.
soon. Too
we
soon.
won't go there. Okay.
No.
Next one, last one. What does it mean? The most tumultuous wide receiver offseason we've ever seen resulted in A.J. Brown to the Eagles, Hollywood Brown to the Cards, Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins, Devontae Adams to the Raiders, Amari Cooper to the Browns, Allen Robinson to the Rams, and 7 wide receivers drafted in round 1. What does it mean when viewing the landscape of this position now in the NFL? It seems like there's 2 philosophies. Either draft them and pay them rookie money, or go get a blue chip, a top-tier elite wide receiver and pay him all that money.
It's just so funny how the narrative has shifted. Because back in the day when you took a top 5 wide receiver, it was just like, whoa, that's way too high for a guy. But, I think what we've seen is having a top flight wide receiver does do great things for your team. I remember back in the day, Colin was saying that having a top flight receiver would not win you a Super Bowl. And he started listing all these teams who had dominant number 1 receivers, and he kind of listed when they would exit from the playoffs or they wouldn't make the playoffs altogether. And so his thing was, you don't pay for this receiver because that receiver doesn't necessarily affect how you win or lose championships. And so it's just like, well, that seems to be a different story now. And I think what's interesting is you look at the Rams when they won the Super Bowl, they traded for OBJ. When the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, they had Tyreek Hill. And when the Bucks won the Super Bowl, they had Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like all these guys, Gronk. Having pass catchers in the NFL is very significant, and it does affect the wins and losses. And what I think we've seen is that there are a premium, even in all those trades for receivers that you mentioned. When the Titans traded away A.J. Brown last night, it was just like, what are they doing? What's going on? What? And then you remember, you're like, oh yeah, the Titans traded for Robert Woods. Who's coming off the ACL, but I mean, he was a very, very productive wide receiver for the Rams before he got hurt. And so what you're seeing is, and it's just so interesting because all these people were like up in arms when teams who needed a wide receiver weren't taking a wide receiver. It just kind of shows you how that narrative has shifted now to where you're like, look, if you want to be a top flight offense, if you want to be a dominant team on the offensive side of the football, you need a dude. You need a dude that's going to take the top off of defense. You need a dude that's going to go up and grab those 50-50 balls. You need a dude that is going to go and grab you a first down when you need one. And that showed. And I think what's tough is the market is getting reset thanks to the Jaguars signing Christian Kirk this offseason to that massive deal. And people were just like, what? You did what? And it's just, it's so interesting too that, the Ravens already needed wide receiver help, and they traded their top guy to Arizona.
Right.
Which seems to believe that they feel like they can get someone else who can come in and work well with Lamar Jackson and kind of take them over the top. I don't know if that's the best idea, because now you've got a guy that needs to come in and get chemistry together with Lamar Jackson, and that team has championship expectations. But I think what we've seen is that rookies, you look at what Jamar Chase did last year. You look at what Justin Jefferson did the year before that, Terry McLaurin, the list goes on and on and on. Devontae Smith last year. And you see that these guys are making immediate big impacts. And I think that's what these teams are hoping for with these receivers. And they're like, look, if we don't have to pay a guy, I think we can get someone in the draft and do just as well.
What changed the last 5 years? The rules. The rules have favored the offense and the passing happy league. I mean, that's why you see 3, 4, 5 wideouts on the field so much and teams passing it 60, 70 times a game, teams scoring 40, 50 points. The rules have changed in their favor, and going to be interesting again to see where these receivers end up going and to what teams later on today.